That capitalism leads to workers suffering and the poor starving. And so when we dig into course syllabi, it makes sense of why so many young people, specifically in New York, Mamdani won 75% of the youth vote there. It comes right from the classroom.
An organization is sharing its reaction for how the future of New York City looks for Jews now that Mamdani has won the city's mayoral election.
AFN has reported on how he has accused Israel of committing genocide and said that he would honor an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. How does the future look for Jews in New York City under his leadership, including on our college and university campuses? Michael Mashbaum is a lead educator at Club Z.
I think everything needs to be taken in proportion. Obviously, nothing has happened yet.
He said he thinks if Mamdani moves ahead with really any of the initiatives he's put forth in his platform, that it could set a real dangerous precedent for the rest of the country. Another thought, he said, the Jewish population of New York needs to take a, quote, long, hard look at the reality on the ground.
And that is looking at getting much worse. Reductions in police force and just law enforcement in general is going to be received, I think, as a green light to people who have already been targeting the Jewish community.
Mashbaum said he thinks this can embolden people who are looking to blame Jews for whatever. He added he thinks the Jews will have to put forth some type of defensive posture to prevent a rise in hate crimes.
I think that they're going to need to work with the federal government to whatever degree they can to limit the power that Mamdani is looking to exert. I think that the Jewish community is also going to have to make kind of individual decisions about what their red lines are. At what point do you pick up and flee? Which is a terrible thing to have to consider, especially in a city like New York, especially in a country like the United States. But I think this is unfortunately, at least based on this election, the direction it seems that the people of New York are moving in.
I'm Bronson Woodruff.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
I hope you're sitting down for this. George Barna's Cultural Research Center found only 13% of born-again Christians have a biblical worldview. That means there's a huge lack of biblical life essentials in our country. AFA is committed to helping churches ignite a hunger for God. You can be part of that with your gift today, and we'll send you Dr. Alex McFarland's DVD, Do Christians Have Permission to Edit Scripture? Visit afa.net/biblical. afa.net/biblical.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR on this Thursday, November the 6th, 2025. And joining me in studio is Ed Vitagliano. Good morning, Brother Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
And Brother Chris Woodward.
Good
over
morning.
Here. And Brother Ray Pritchard. And Florida, sunny Florida, aren't you down there?
I'm in sunny Florida, although it's a little overcast right now, but
okay.
Yeah, a little overcast
but
here in Florida.
It's called the Sunshine State. That's what they bill themselves as.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you told us a few months ago that you and Marlene, your lovely and talented wife there, were going to become snowbirds, right?
And that's exactly right. We got here last night about 11 p.m. and unpacked our stuff. We're at I do a lot of speaking for Word of Life. And
right.
They've got a large conference center here in Florida,
right?
In Hudson, Florida, which is just north of Tampa. And we bought a park model, which is about 1,600 square feet. And we're cozy and snug as a bug in a rug here in Florida.
Now, what is a park model? I'm not familiar with that.
Well, it's considered to be a vehicle. There's actually a license plate in the window there, but there's nobody going to be driving this thing around. It's
1,600 square feet.
Wow. I know.
You know what? What I've noticed is that because I mocked snowbirds when I was growing up in New England. Everyone mocks snowbirds until you're old enough to become one, and then you go, you know what? Yeah. This is a good idea.
Right. Go to warm weather for the winter and go back
home
in the summertime.
I looked it up, and he's only 10.5 hours away from us. I could check out a van, and we could be there for a late supper tonight.
You can be there. Come on. We got a great pizza place right down the road.
Oh, man.
And Ed, 8 years ago, if you'd said, will you and Marlene ever become snowbirds? I would have laughed at the idea,
Yeah.
but oh, how times change,
Yes.
right? Life
Yeah.
rolls on, and I'm just tired of the snow and the ice and the cold weather. And so at least starting today through the end of March, we're going to be here at Word of Life. They call it Word of Life Palm Grove. And there's about 200 other units around us. It's a Christian RV park, or Christian snowbird haven, if you want to call it that. And so we're really glad to be here.
How close are you to Tampa, you said?
About 25 minutes north of the Tampa airport.
You know what? They have a good hockey team in Tampa. You and Marlene should become hockey fans.
What's
now,
the name? What's
the
the name
Tampa
of the
Bay
hockey?
Lightning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it'd be a good thing for snowbirds to become interested in.
Become interested in the hockey, right?
Right.
Listen, fellas, I'm sorry, but I was stuck at 1,600 square foot car, and I never got off
It's
that.
called the
I've
Beast.
been waiting to ask Ray, what are you talking
Beast.
about? Are you talking about an RV? Is that what you're talking about?
No,
Sounds like a mobile home
Oh,
almost.
okay. If you took it,
A trailer?
If you took a mobile home and shrunk it down a little bit, but still kept the wheels on it, right?
Yeah.
But made them stationary so that it can't really go anywhere. It's considered a vehicle, but it's nobody going to be moving this thing. And they built onto this. The people who owned it before us, they built onto this. So originally it probably had about 500-600 square feet, but now 1,600. So we're pretty happy here.
Oh, will you send me a picture of that after the
Yes,
show?
sir. Yes, sir. I will.
I can't. I'm trying to envision this. Maybe I've seen one before, but I can't. Why would you have wheels on something that doesn't move?
Well,
that's
probably because that's how they got it there.
That's how they got it there. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Okay.
It's not a. There are, in fact, just next to us, there's a true RV next to us, the kind that you hook up and drive around the country.
Right.
This is not like that, but it's considered by Florida to be a vehicle.
Okay.
And so there is a license plate in the in the window of the unit.
Wow.
Sounds like something NASA would be involved in, or something.
if you're going to build a little
Yeah.
community on Mars.
something that you
Yeah.
shoot out into outer space and float around the Earth. Like the International Space Station or something. A trailer.
Well, you could, for those who having a hard time finding a home.
Yeah. Outer space,
outer
maybe the
space.
option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lot of
There'd
room
probably
up there.
be-
All right.
Let me just say, if you did that and started putting homes out in outer space, I guarantee within months you'd have a Dollar General out there.
That's exactly right. We've got one just down the road.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's going to happen.
Don't make me laugh.
There will be.
I know you're struggling.
I've got this little sniffle thing coming on, and you know how when you start laughing and you got the little sniffle thing
Yeah.
that makes you cough and sound
Yeah.
like you're taking your last gasp at life there.
So that only makes me want to make you laugh even more.
I know. Wow. All right, so
Yes.
Dr. Alex McFarland will be on with us at the bottom of the hour. We look forward to visiting with Alex. You may have heard about this controversy involving Tucker Carlson, the famed conservative commentator, many years on Fox News. I used to, really enjoy his shows.
Yeah.
And was a fan of his, but he's taken a turn here on Israel, and it's got a lot of people scratching their heads on what is he doing? Why is he saying these things? And it comes off as anti-Semitic.
And some people think it may split the Republican Party or the conservative
Yeah.
movement.
Yeah.
So
So we're going to talk about that some with Alex. We asked him ahead, do you want to dive into this one? Because it's somewhat complex.
yeah.
So anyway, and it's hard to criticize people you admire and
Right.
have admired for a long time. And I've been an admirer of Tucker Carlson. But now
So
I'm
that'll
go-
be bottom of the hour.
Yeah, but now I'm going, what is this about?
Yeah.
And where is this going? You want to talk about it now?
No, I was just going to say, I just wanted our listeners to know.
Yeah.
Make sure you stick around.
It's
It's bottom of
clickbait.
the hour.
It's clickbait.
Yes.
I'll share a few links for the things that we'll talk about with him.
Yeah. So if you want to hear what Alex has to say, you're doing this at the bottom of the hour. All right, so what's our first story,
Well,
Chris?
you may not be the only American with the sniffles over the next few days, and I say that because a shocking blast of winter weather is headed.
A shocking blast.
A shocking blast of winter weather is headed for the East Coast. Ray, I got bad news for you. Did you say you're in Hudson, Florida?
Yes.
Even you're going to be impacted by this. The
Really?
high, yes.
No.
The high on Tuesday where Ray lives or is moving to, 58. Which is
That's freezing
unseasonably
here in
cold.
Florida.
In
Cold
Florida.
weather's hunting Ray down.
Yes,
Oh, no.
it followed you
Oh,
from
no.
KC. By the way, it's going to be a high of 58 today in Kansas City. But anyway, a shocking Arctic blast with temperatures more akin to mid-January than early November is poised to overspread the eastern half of the U.S., starting around November 8th, sending tens of millions into an early deep freeze.
Oh, wow. Well, I tell you what, it's not going to last long.
No, a couple days.
48 hours. But still, it's unwanted.
Well, that's for sure.
And I was looking at our temperature here in Tupelo, MS. Let's see what it's going to be on Monday. The low is 24. For November, that just ain't right.
I'm going to call in cold.
No, it's not, and it's substantially lower than the average for this time of year, and it's going to include. I think I've read 20 states. So, folks, if you're listening to us and you're in one of those states, man, put those covers on your faucets and bring the plants in.
Yeah.
And whatever else you do
Your
when
pets.
it turns cold, your pets. Don't leave your pets out in that weather.
Yeah. So what is Ray? Look at your phone. What's your low on Monday night?
Okay, right now, let's see. Monday night. Okay, it's going to be in the day 63, but then down to 39 on Monday night.
That's probably going to be a record low.
Probably.
I'm guessing for November, the whatever it will be.
Well, I know who your neighbors are going to blame.
Yeah, right.
the new couple.
What did you do?
What did you do?
The couple
Brought the
from
cold
Kansas
weather.
City comes here, and all of a sudden we get a cold blast from the north.
Building
so.
snowmen.
Ray's going to be like, I'm from Alabama. I promise.
Really, I didn't do this.
Right, I didn't do this. Well, anyway, it is going to be a couple days of shocking weather for a lot of the country, as you know, somewhere the global warming people are just crying because they just can't catch a break.
Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, and Al Gore somewhere.
They're weeping tears of sorrow.
Yeah, they just nothing's going good for them right now.
Right.
In all seriousness, there's a big climate conference that's about to get underway in Brazil. They had to go to
an
exotic location. No, unless you want to send me.
Well, I mean, if you
I'll learn Portuguese between now and the time I fly out. If you want me to go.
Right. So, how do you know this? You get their newsletters?
Oh no! It's well documented. There's a climate conference kicking off.
Oh,
We're not going to be a part of it U.S. wise because the Trump
In
administration,
Brazil.
as we have reported on the show, calls climate change a quote con job.
Hoax.
So we're not going to go.
All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Next story, Chris.
Speaking of President Trump, he had a couple of things to say yesterday about New York City mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. Now, Mamdani has been referred to by many of his critics as everything from a socialist to a communist. Bottom line, his policies are radical and not what not even what a far left Democrat has pushed. He's way to the left. Zohran Mamdani.
He says he says he's an unapologetic
Democratic socialist.
Yes.
So he's
it's not just other people calling
He's proud of
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Now, President Trump has said for weeks that Mamdani is a communist. And yesterday in a speech, Trump said, we have a choice, communism or common sense. Clip 2.
But the communists, Marxists, socialists, and globalists had their chance, and they delivered nothing but disaster. Decision facing all Americans could not be more clear. We have a choice between communism and common sense. Our opponents are offering an economic nightmare. We're delivering an economic miracle. The United States is not going communist in any way, shape, or form. We'll stop it. We're going to stop it.
What exactly is he just reacting to the election?
Yes. So basically,
Mamdani?
people are saying that Mamdani is going to have a national impact on politics going forward. There are going to be other socialists or communists running for office to try to replicate what's been done in New York wherever they live.
If they do that, it'll be an utter failure, in my opinion.
Statistics would back you up on that.
Other
yes.
than the big cities.
Yeah. Seattle.
Chicago. Well, some of them are already there.
Chicago, maybe. Yeah.
Some of them are already there. Chicago, Boston.
A lot of people don't know this is not the first socialist elected as a mayor. It's the first socialist elected as mayor for New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I was writing a column for our magazine, The Stand magazine. And folks, if you want to get that, you can go to afa.net, sign up for that. But I was doing a little background research following the election of Mamdani. We've had, according to a report from the University of Washington, over 1,000 socialists elected to serve as mayors of cities and towns since the 1900s.
Yes.
In Milwaukee, they had three socialists in the early 1900s. So this is not a brand new thing that has happened in our country, but it is a first for a city the size of New York and the importance of New York City.
There's a part of me that's glad he got elected. Okay, let me tell you why. I think we need a test case here that all of America can look at and go, did this work or not? Because I'm going to tell you, it's going to be an abject failure.
Yes.
Because if he's even able to get his policies implemented,
absolutely,
because he has to deal some with the state legislature in Albany and the governor's office. Now, she supported him, but his basic philosophy doesn't work in an American system of capitalism. Unless you radically change everything and you become a communistic type, government.
Yes.
And so anyway, go ahead.
I can give you an example here on the local level in Mississippi. This gentleman has since been replaced by somebody else in office, but our own Jackson, Mississippi, the state capital, had a Democratic Socialist mayor in the last couple of years. Chokwe Antar Lumumba, he served from 2017 to 2025. He was a member of the Democratic Party and described himself as a Democratic Socialist. The reason I bring him up is because Jackson had problems when he entered office. Jackson still has problems after he left office. It still has a lot of crime. People don't want to live there. The potholes are still there. So Democratic Socialist policies do not work. Well, because things he ran on are still problems.
But he was twice elected.
That's true.
To your point, Tim, about the state government, they rely. Albany relies on tax revenues from New York City, in large part to fund the rest of the state. And if Mamdani's policies are, as we think they will, are going to drive businesses and corporations and the wealthy out of New York City, that's a big blow to the tax base, not only for New York City, but also for the state coffers. He may get some resistance on the state level.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you, promising free stuff to everybody is a winner.
Especially when it's young people.
With people who haven't had a dose of reality. Ray, go ahead.
You sent around an article, Tim, that said the long-time residents, people have been in New York City more than 10 years, they voted overwhelmingly for Cuomo over Mamdani. But for people who've lived in New York City, say, 5 years or less, they voted something like 80 or 85% for Mamdani over Cuomo, suggesting to me that there is a huge generational break, that the newer people either agree with Mamdani or they don't care. And it's the folks who've been there a long time who know exactly what's about to happen to the city that they love and have called home for many, many years. And in a sense, Tim, I'm torn. You said, well, look, let's just make this a test case. And yet we both feel New York City is the greatest city in the world. And you hate to see a great city become a dumpster fire, much worse than before.
Right, that's true.
To Tim and everybody's point here, there's a guy named Andrew Stanton. He's a weekend staff writer at Newsweek, and I just shared this in addition to the Cuomo stuff. Zohran Mamdani's win could be great news for J.D. Vance. That's the headline on Newsweek. And the argument is, he's going to be terrible, and they're going to be able to say, look what happens when you vote in these
All
people.
right, give me three of the, Ed, you've studied this some, but three of the things this guy promotes that are just
About Mamdani?
Yeah, and go ahead.
Well, he wants to freeze rents. We talked about this yesterday.
That's right. I'm going to play the part of the 28-year-old in New York City. Okay,
Yeah,
and I've lived there. I'm 28 years old. I've been there 3 years living in New York City.
And you can't afford it
And I'm trying
anymore.
to decide what I'm going to do here, and I'm listening to this guy run for mayor. Okay, so I'm reacting to what your campaign promises.
Okay. So I'm going to play the part of
Yeah,
Mamdani.
Mamdani.
Okay, so we are going to freeze rents so they don't go up anymore.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's right.
there. I'm for that.
Okay.
I'm voting for that, my friend. Do you know what? Because these landlords are sticking it to us.
That's right.
And I'm tired of it. Somebody needs to put them in their place. So I'm for that.
And that's what I'm going to do.
Good.
I'm also going to create government-owned grocery stores so that we can bring food prices down to where everyone can afford it, because Kroger and Walmart and Target and whoever else is selling groceries,
thank you,
they are sticking it to the customers.
Thank you. I'm tired of eating ramen noodles.
Yes.
And so I am voting for you, my friend. You're going to have government-run grocery stores, so it's fair.
Yeah. So it's fair. That's right. And then the third thing I'm going to say is, if you want to ride the bus or the subway, you can do it for free.
Okay.
And so even if you can't find an apartment to rent, you can sleep on the subway.
I'm with you.
Yep.
Subway and free buses.
Yep.
You know why? Because I see a lot of rich people out there.
Oh,
and
exactly.
they got big cars and limousines and everything
nice
like that.
Homes.
It's not fair that those of us who can't afford those cars have to pay for our buses and our subways.
Yeah, these people are so rich they can take their family to Chili's.
So I'm voting for you. What else you got? What you got on?
May I add one?
Yeah, go ahead.
He wants a $30 minimum wage in the not too distant future in New York City.
God, are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Now I'm double high fiving.
Dead serious.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's what I'm for.
We're raising the roof on that
$30
one.
minimum wage.
You got my. No wonder you're getting. You're gonna get my vote and all of my friends.
This is why people like Ronald Reagan, when I was in diapers, said things like government is the problem, because when government sets things like this, like you must pay people this amount of money, and you tack on all these other things like utilities and regulations, cost of office, all these things. That's why food costs as much as it does in New York City.
Me and my friends, we can't live on $17 an hour. So if this guy's going to raise it to 30,
yeah,
and stick
I'm going to apparently.
Well, thank you.
Apparently, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
I'm voting for you.
You know what else?
What?
I am against the police. I have said publicly I'm for defunding the police. Maybe I won't go that far now, but I'm still against them.
Good.
And people who commit crimes, if they're minorities in this city, are only committing those crimes because they have been failed by the system. So we are going to have no cash bail and a bunch of other things you criminals are going to love.
And use that money. Use that money that you defund the police and pay for, help me out some more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with some more social programs. Pay for my health care. Will you do that too? Insurance.
I'll have to get back to you, but I don't see why not.
Okay. All right. So there we go. So you wonder why he gets all the votes from the younger crowd,
and from people who aren't native
just moved
born.
there.
Just moved there.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I'm with you, Tim. This is going to be kind of fun to watch, unless you live in New York City. But
I'll tell you what's going to happen pretty quick if he starts giving free bus and free public transit.
Yeah,
subways and buses. You're going to find vagrants and homeless people, and mentally ill people and criminals all over. They're going to be sleeping on these places. And Mamdani's philosophy is don't kick them out because that's inhumane. Am I right?
They have a right to be.
They have a right to be there.
On there.
Yeah.
So you watch how that works. Okay.
To your, do we have time for one more clip? It's not very long. Okay. To Tim's point on why young people fall for this stuff.
A lot of points.
Somebody
which
that was
point
on.
Are you talking about?
Why young people buy this kind of stuff. Emily Sturge with Campus Reform was on Fox and Friends this morning talking about why youngsters fall for this stuff. Clip 4.
For over a decade, we've been sounding the alarm at the Leadership Institute's campus reform that the higher education system is indoctrinating young minds with this sugar-coated view of socialism while also demonizing capitalism. But you don't have to just take it from me. We can actually look at some college course examples. Harvard University taught a course that taught that consumerism and capitalism leads to climate change. Williams College in Massachusetts taught that capitalism leads to workers suffering and the poor starving. And so when we dig into course syllabi, it makes sense of why so many young people, specifically in New York, Mamdani won 75% of the youth vote there. It comes right from the classroom.
I think the most interesting statistic here maybe is what Ray mentioned earlier, the article that I sent out, and that is that native New Yorkers voted for Cuomo, and the newcomers, the newbies, to New York City voted, and the younger crowd voted for the reasons we just role-played there, voted for Mamdani. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens now. When will he be sent into, I guess, January 1?
Well, he is, this is from the New York Post, he is saying that he plans to take aggressive action on his socialist agenda, declaring it is a mandate, because he won by so high a percentage.
Right.
I think New Yorkers are going to find out very quickly what Zoran Mamdani intends for the Big Apple. Is now, according to a great headline from the New York Post, it's now the Red Apple.
I see what they did there.
Yep.
All right, we'll be back with Dr. Alex McFarland coming up after this short timeout. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
Jim had two things going against him. First, he was a habitual complainer. Now, I know you've met people like that. They're constantly complaining about something. If the sun is shining, they complain because there isn't any rain. If it's raining, they complain because the sun isn't shining. They would be absolutely miserable if they didn't have something to complain about. But since they do, they only make those around them miserable. Why people have that attitude is beyond me. Sure, there's plenty wrong. You don't have to be awake very long in the morning to realize that. But there's also plenty right. And it's up to us to choose which we will concentrate on. That which is wrong or that which is right. Now, I said Jim had two things going against him. The other was that he was stingy. He wanted to keep every penny he ever had, and he was constantly complaining about having to spend any of his money. I bet you've met people like that. Stingy, I mean. Of course, now, I know none of us are stingy, but we know other people who are. You and I have a healthy attitude toward money. We spend it for the necessities and for recreation, and we even give 1/10 of our money to the church. Well, maybe not 1/10, but at least it's a lot more than other people give. But back to Jim. One day Jim was talking with his neighbor and a friend of the neighbor. The subject turned to money, and Jim grabbed the chance to start complaining about how much his son was costing him. That boy didn't have any business going to college in the first place. College costs too much money. It ain't worth it. I never went to college, and it never hurt me. Well, the neighbor asked Jim about the boy getting a scholarship or his working to help some with the expenses. Well, he has a scholarship which pays for most of his tuition, and he works about 20 hours a week, but it still costs me a lot of money, Jim said. Up to that point in the conversation, the friend of Jim's neighbor had not said hardly anything. But there was a slack in the conversation, and the friend spoke up. I know how you feel, Jim. I had a boy in college a few years back. Seemed like it took everything I could beg and borrow to keep him in school. Every time I turned around, it was $10 for this and $50 for something else. And I guess I did my share of complaining about how much it was costing me. There was a pause in his conversation, but then the friend continued. "But you know something, Jim?" the neighbor's friend asked. "What's that?" replied Jim. "My boy doesn't cost me a penny now," the friend said. "Well, I'll be glad when my boy doesn't cost me any more money," said Jim. The friend waited for a moment. Then he ended the conversation. "No, Jim, that boy of mine doesn't cost me a penny now. He'll never cost me another penny as long as I live. He was killed in an automobile accident 3 years ago." Think about it for a moment, my friend.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
For we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God, an eternal house in heaven not built by human hands. 2 Corinthians 5:1.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. I'm Tim with Ed, Chris, and Ray. We thank you for listening to AFR. And joining us now is our colleague and good friend, Dr. Alex McFarland, co-host of Exploring the Word each weekday afternoon right here on AFR. Alex and Bert do a live Bible study every weekday from 3 to 4 o'clock Central Time. So you want to check that out if you haven't already been listening to Exploring the Word. Alex, you there?
I am here. Good morning.
Are you in North Carolina today or traveling around?
Yes, sir. I'm in North Carolina, coming back from 2 days of preaching in Georgia.
Oh, what were you there for?
Well, I had the great privilege. I was in a wonderful couple of churches yesterday, but
okay.
I was also in a public high school and middle school to speak to the kids, and it was really a great opportunity.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so let's talk about Tucker Carlson. What were you pointing at, Chris?
Oh no, I'm gonna queue up this link and share for you.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
So for those who don't know, most people are familiar with this controversy now. It's been out there in conservative media and in Christian media, but Tucker Carlson has. Well, Ed, why don't you describe what it is he's gotten into here, if you would?
Well, there is a controversy within the conservative movement in this country now over Israel and U.S. support for Israel, the war in Gaza, which is, has ended at least temporarily with the ceasefire and the 20-point plan that the president has tried to put into practice. So the controversy is that Tucker Carlson and some other fairly high-profile conservatives, including Candace Owens, appear to be drifting into an anti-Semitic point of view, with Tucker Carlson even denying, I think he called it a Christian heresy to believe that the Jews are still God's chosen people, and that it's a heresy to believe that Christians should be supporting Israel in the Middle East. And recently, Tucker Carlson kind of increased that, kind of fired up the controversy even more by hosting on his podcast, I think it was his podcast, Nick Fuentes, who is a fascist, a absolute anti-Semite, said he's a fan of Hitler, he's a fan of Joseph Stalin, and Tucker Carlson has been criticized for not being hard on Fuentes when he was on his program, but giving him softball questions. So, Alex, there may be some Christians who are just now finding out about this, but conservatives, because of the influence of the evangelical vote inside the Republican Party, have generally said, we're going to support Israel. They're the only true democracy in the Middle East. And there is a strong link between the Christian community and the Jewish people and the nation of Israel. But now that appears to be at least up for debate, something I wasn't sure I would ever see in my lifetime. What's your take on this?
Yeah. Well, I've been very, very disappointed with Tucker Carlson. And my goodness, after interviewing Ted Cruz, he said that support for Israel was, quote, a brain virus. I mean, that's just, besides being unbiblical, contributing to anti-Semitism, that's just not even good journalism. But I will tell you, Charlie Kirk and I had several conversations about this, and Charlie Kirk, rest his soul, he was a devout Christian and a fervent patriot, and in no way am I trying to slam the legacy and the impact of Charlie Kirk, but we had discussions, and he just flat out asked me. Charlie Kirk said, "Alex, why are you so pro-Israel?" And I said, well, for a lot of reasons, pull up a chair. But 5 days before Charlie Kirk died, he texted me, and we had several very productive conversations because he, I know this is going to sound like some, old guy, but Tim and Ed, a lot of younger evangelicals, they love the Lord, they're Christian, but they've just been taught wrong about Israel, and that somehow the Abrahamic covenant had been broken 2,000 years ago. And, it goes by a number of names like replacement theology, supersessionism, fulfillment theology, but that the church is now Israel. And, we love Charlie. We love TPUSA. I'm speaking for 2 TPUSA events next week, even in Tennessee. But let me just say this. Charlie, at least several months ago, was flirting with what I would call replacement theology. He was not, and I want to repeat, not anti-Semitic. But I said, Charlie, you must support Israel. And I said, the church is not Israel. Israel is Israel. Now, there's a lot about the fulfillment of God's promises in the Abrahamic covenant. To his credit, Tim, Charlie texted me 5 days before he died, and he said, keep the talking points about Israel coming. He said, I am teachable. That's what he said to me. Now, here's a verse, and by the way, but Candace Owen and Tucker Carlson, at least part of their statements that are, I believe, anti-Semitic and just bad history and bad hermeneutics. And then part of Charlie Kirk, part of Tucker platforming Nick Fuentes, which was a disastrous move. That guy nobody should listen to Nick Fuentes. But, I reminded Charlie and a lot of the younger evangelicals, pastors and leaders that I mentor, like Romans 11:18, speaking of we Gentiles, lest there's a superiority complex among Gentile believers. Romans 11:18 says, do not boast above the branches. You are just a branch. The root supports you. In other words, we Gentile believers are the ones that are late to the party. Now, praise God, if you're a believer in Jesus Messiah, you're grafted in. But the Abrahamic covenant is an everlasting covenant, and God is not done with the nation of Israel.
Ray?
Alex, I've got a question here that I think Tucker used an interesting phrase at one point. He talked about Christian Zionism. That's not a phrase a lot of people would be familiar with. So, from two questions for you, Alex. Number one, what exactly is Christian Zionism? And number two, do you consider yourself a Christian Zionist?
That's a great question. It's not really a term that I've ever heard any dispensational pro-Israel Christians really use about themselves.
Right.
The term Zionism, came about really in the 19th century as there was, Jewish leaders around the world were prayerfully thinking about how to restart the nation of Israel. And it really came about after World War I. Balfour, Churchill, Harry Truman, and some people like David Ben-Gurion and Chaim Weizmann, who was from England. But Zionism was the move to reestablish the nation of Israel, which, guys, Bert and I write about this in our brand new book. And Bert Harper and I say that the reestablishment of the nation of Israel is, quote, a super sign of the fulfillment of Bible prophecy, not just a sign, but a super sign. Now, to your question, Ray, would I consider myself a Christian Zionist? Well, if by Zionist you mean that I believe what the Bible says about the children of Abraham, the Abrahamic covenant, that the land belongs to Israel, that one day at some future point Israel will occupy their land in a state of belief, and that Israel has the right to exist, the right to self-defense, and the right to self-determination, sure, then I'm a Zionist. But I think people like Tucker Carlson and the pro-Hamas left, they would use it as a very pejorative term to slander. But it's almost like the term Christian nationalist. I've had people say, "Oh, Alex, you're a Christian nationalist." I'm like, well, I am a Christian, and I care about America. I mean, does that make me a bad guy? Christian Zionist, I am a Christian, and I believe in what the Bible says about the Jewish people, and I categorically condemn anti-Semitism. That makes me a bad guy. Fair enough, I'm a bad guy.
Yeah. Listen, as I said before, and I think we all are in this camp, admirers of the Fox News version of Tucker Carlson, right?
Right.
When he was back on Fox News, he did some great journalism and interviews and insights, so I always look forward to, when I tuned in, hearing what he had to say about world events and current events and politics and such. But this, do you cancel somebody because of this? Do you say because you agree with them on 90% of stuff, but 10% is?
You're talking about Tucker Carlson.
Do you?
And not.
He's supposed to speak at the Turning Point USA National Conference in about a month or so in Phoenix, Arizona, and this will be on Erica Kirk, whether he stays on the docket or not.
Because she is currently now the CEO, president of Turning Point USA. Yeah, that's a great question, Alex.
I had it.
And it was Tim's question.
Yeah, I had it. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying.
So
I had it.
What do you do with now? I am in absolute agreement with you on Nick Fuentes. You don't have him. You don't platform him on your show. We're not going to have him on TI to question his beliefs. His beliefs are so out there. We just assume people understand. We reject. He says things like, not only is a big fan of Hitler and Stalin, he thinks only white men should be making, not even women. Only white men should be making political decisions in America. I mean, this guy is a racist. You throw all the labels into a basket, and that applies to Nick Fuentes. But Tucker Carlson, like Tim said, I would say 95% of what he says, I go, wow, that's a good way of putting it. What do you think Turning Point USA is going to do? You think they're going to allow him to speak?
I don't know. This is a real test of leadership and conviction. And while I have spoken for TPUSA events, and I mean, like, you know, I deeply cared about, I do care about TPUSA and cared about Charlie, and certainly, you know, like the whole wide world, you know, my heart was just broken when that happened to Charlie. In fact, Frank Turek and I had a long, fun conversation. Frank is a friend of 30 years, and just the trauma of that, you know, is still being processed. But at the same time, this illustrates the importance of sound teaching. And there are a lot of younger evangelical leaders, Charlie Kirk was one of them, that had some gaps in their knowledge about the understanding of Israel. And I was trying to help him with that, and he was very responsive. And I just want to be very clear, the love, the respect, the camaraderie that I had with Charlie, but at the same time, I told him, I said, brother, I love you in the Lord, but you're wrong about Israel, and I want to help you.
Hey,
and he said, I'm teachable, you know.
Hey, it's just so our listeners understand, and maybe you can clarify this since you did know Charlie Kirk. He didn't, I don't know how he grew up, but he was in the process of learning about Christianity as he had made a commitment to Christian. So he was in a lot of ways like a young Christian with regards to theology, wasn't he?
He was very much a work in process. We all are. Guys, I want to be clear. I'm learning, and, you know, I've been saved 39 years, and I'm learning. But there were some things, and I told him, I said, as your older brother, let me help you because, and I'm not going to repeat it, but he had some teachings that were very much reflective of what I would call replacement theology. And I said, look, there's one verse, Galatians 6:16, that says, "Blessed be the Israel of God." But here's the thing, guys. If the Protestant Reformation had happened May 15, 1948, I guarantee replacement theology would have never come about. It really, in the aftermath of the Protestant Reformation, and it's, you know, fortuitous that we're talking about this near October 31, but, you know, as the gospel spread throughout Europe, then people begin to think, okay, well, what do we do with the book of Revelation? Because it talks all about Israel, and there really is no nation of Israel. And, you know, John Calvin, and very much replacement theology is associated with Reformed and Calvinistic theology. Calvin didn't even become a Christian until almost 10 years after Luther and the Wittenberg Door, October 31, 1517. I am convinced, Tim and Ed, if the reformers had known about the rebirth of Israel in 1948, replacement theology would never have really emerged. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're talking to Dr. Alex McFarland. You're listening to the radio program, Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Ray, I'm going to pitch you a question. You've been a pastor for a long time.
Sure.
How you like that set up? And
here we go. Anything could happen.
And you like Alex, have spent much of your life studying and teaching the Bible to others. And I know you share the theology that Alex has expressed here. So y'all are on the same page as we are here.
100%.
100%. But I have to ask you to answer the question. When I read the New Testament, when it comes to this kind of teaching, I'm just going to be honest with you. Sometimes it's a little confusing to me because it's Jesus came to redeem the world, and so the Old Testament is Jesus' relationship exclusively with the Israelites, with the children of Abraham, with the Hebrews, whatever you want to call it. There are several names we give to the people today we call Jews, but that changed with Jesus, and now salvation, God's relationship is with everybody, not just with the Jews. So how does that square with the the covenant still being with the God's chosen people? Does that make sense?
Well, sure. And
okay.
Let me say two or three things, and Alex, jump in here with anything else. Number one, it is quite true that God's focus in the Old Testament was the nation of Israel. But remember, God was very clear. He wanted Israel to be, and it says this in the Old Testament, a light to the nations, that if Israel had kept the covenant, if Israel had followed the way of the Lord, they would have been a light to the surrounding Gentile pagan nations. They were to be the light showing the way to the one true God. So we don't want to say that God was only exclusively concerned about Israel, because God always had a heart for all the nations. In fact, you mentioned the Abrahamic covenant, goes back to Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, in you shall, and that is Abraham and his descendants finally coming down to Jesus, in you, through Jesus, ultimately shall all the nations be blessed. We know that God always intended to bless the nations through the seed of Abraham, because that's what the Apostle Paul quotes in Galatians chapter 3. So God always had a heart for the nations. It was seen most clearly through the blessing he gave to Israel, but in the New Testament, it's simply expanded. The blessings of the Abrahamic covenant are now extended to all people, so that anybody, anywhere, anytime can come to faith in Jesus Christ. They can become part of God's family. The last thing I want to say, Tim, is that the fact that God now wishes to bless all the nations through the gospel of Christ does not, and in fact cannot, cancel the specific promises he made to his people, the nation of Israel, in the Old Testament. Those promises are still for ethnic Israel in the future. God has not forgotten his ancient people. He will ultimately fulfill all the promises, because Romans 11 says that when Christ returns, all Israel will be saved. There's coming a time when the Jewish people will see the one they have pierced, and they will mourn, and a fountain of salvation will be opened up for the ancient Jewish people in that day. God always intended to bless the nations, but he has not canceled his promises to Israel.
Amen. You're listening to Today's Issues. Alex McFarland with us. That was comments of Ray Pritchard there, Ed Vitagliano, and Chris Woodward. Anything else on this topic you want to speak to?
No, I agree with. Listen, I agree. This is not always easy to kind of sift through. There is a verse in the Gospels where Jesus, in talking to the religious leaders of Israel, he says that the kingdom will be taken away from you and given to a people who will be the recipients of it. Some people, if you just sit on that verse, it looks as if Jesus has cut off the nation of Israel. But other places in the gospel, Jesus tells the Jews, your house will be left to you desolate until you can say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, which even in the Gospels opens up the hope for the restoration of Israel to God through the Messiah. And then when
Messiah being Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. And then when you read Romans 11, as both Alex and Ray have pointed out, Paul makes this explicit. He makes it explicit that unbelieving Jews have been cut off as unbelieving branches. Paul warns Gentile believers, don't get cocky, because if you stop believing and trusting in Jesus Christ, you'll be cut off. And then he says and talks about the blessing that'll come to the world when Israel comes back to him whom they have pierced. And as Ray and Alex have said, all Israel eventually will be saved. Paul makes explicit in Ephesians 2, we cannot and Gentiles will not enter the kingdom without the Jews. This is part of what Paul says God has done. He has knocked down the dividing line between Jew and Gentile. And so it seems clear that God has a plan for natural Jews, according to his Old Testament promise, that there will come a time when en masse the people that we now call Jews, according to the flesh, will come to Christ. And Gentiles and Jews will celebrate together in the kingdom. So it can get a little hairy, but part of what Alex is saying is there's been a serious lack of teaching about this, and a lot of younger evangelicals haven't heard any of the things we've been talking about on this program, and they are falling prey to a view that says Israel is cast off into the outer darkness, and they're no different than anybody else. And while it's true that they have to be saved through Christ, they're not just like anybody else because of the promise God made to their forefathers.
And this doesn't mean what all you guys have described here in terms of what is the biblical attitude Christians today should have towards Israel and the Jews does not mean that everything the Israeli government does or doesn't do is ordained by God, or should be Israel right or wrong.
Yes, exactly.
You don't have to have that approach in order to support the nation of Israel and the Jewish people. And
it doesn't mean that I don't support Israel just because I don't want U.S. boots on the ground in the Middle East.
Right. So very well said. Thank you so much, Alex, for being on with us, and great words of wisdom there, my friend.
Godspeed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alex and Ray, you had some great words of wisdom, too.
You sure did, Ray.
Thank you.
Right. No, you're welcome, and I had some great questions. All
of us were great.
We were great.
It was a great segment, folks.
Hey,
no, listen, it was.
Yeah.
That was. I think that'll be helpful for a lot of our listeners.
We'll be back. Thank you, Chris, for your great presence.
Thanks.
Yes, we'll be back momentarily with more of today's issues.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Teenage years can be a time of trial. It can be really difficult, but it can also be the most fun and the best years of your parenting.
Dr. Jessica Peck is a pediatric nurse practitioner as well as a professor, author, and mother of 4. Dr. Peck is host of the Dr. Nurse Mama Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Central, and find her podcast at afr.net.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. Officials giving an update this morning on the crash of a UPS plane in Louisville, Kentucky that killed at least 12 people and left 9 missing. Mayor Craig Greenberg says they hope they have found everyone.
But again, we do not know. The search will continue. The teams will be out there searching through the debris now in what's called a delayering search in coordination with the NTSB and their investigation about the crash. There's so much debris there. There is so much charred, mangled metal that not all of the bodies may have been located until you look underneath certain things.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune spoke this morning about the government shutdown, now in day 37.
Republicans are 100% willing to sit down and talk about the mess that Democrats have created. We're just not going to have that conversation while Democrats are holding the federal government hostage. That was our position in September. That was our position in October. And yes, it's still our position in November. We're just waiting for Democrats to take yes for an answer.
Some bad news for travelers. If you're planning on taking a flight this weekend, there is a good chance it will be delayed or even canceled. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announcing new airspace restrictions as the government shutdown rages on.
One of them, though, is going to be that there is going to be a 10% reduction in capacity at 40 of our locations. The administrator is going to tell you that this is data-based. This is not based on what airline travels, has more flights out of what location. This is about where is the pressure and how do we alleviate the pressure.
Florida Senator Ashley Moody says this was all completely avoidable.
The American people, American families, American workers have paid the price for Democrats to put on a show, whether that's protests, poetry readings in the middle of the night. It's unbelievable what the American people have had to bear for this grandstanding. And now they're looking for an exit, right? They put on a show, and now they're looking for an exit, stage right, I suppose. And it's about darn time, because you have people here who have put sabotaging the operation of the government over its people. And anytime that happens, we as senators have to do everything possible to make sure this country continues to operate on behalf of the American people.
A pro-Israel activist says do not underestimate the appeal of the message of Zoran Mamdani. Chad Groening has more.
With the election of Zoran Mamdani as mayor of New York, conservatives and pro-Israel advocates are hoping that his expected far-left and anti-Semitic agenda will be his undoing and help Republicans in next year's midterms. Gary Bowers, chairman of the Campaign for Working Families, who has served on the board of Christians United for Israel, he thinks we need to take this guy seriously.
I'm in a minority on this. I've already today talked to a number of people that say, well, I don't like it, Gary, but man, we're going to hang this guy around the Democrats' neck, and we'll bring Democrats down next year in other states. Do not underestimate the appeal of the message of Mamdani.
And Bauer says the appeal is class warfare.
He's a very effective deliverer of that message, and he and AOC will train other candidates around the country, and this message can sell in places that will shock a lot of conservatives.
And so there is a reality moving forward.
We are going to elect conservative populists, or we are going to elect Marxist populists. And we've just seen what happens when Marxist populists are elected. That speech Mamdani gave last night, that was chilling. The whole speech.
I'm Chad Groening.
Stocks have been slipping this morning on Wall Street. The S&P 500 down 0.4%. The Dow fell 185 points. And the NASDAQ Composite fell 0.7%. More news online at afn.net and on the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildmon and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildmon, president of the American Family Association.
Well, some disappointing. Welcome back, by the way. Today's Issues, the name of this show on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, Steve, and Ray. Ray's in Florida, living in a tank.
That's about right.
And we're here in Tupelo, MS, media capital of the world. So it's disappointing. I'm really touched. Nancy Pelosi's not going to run for re-election.
Tim, we'll be praying for you during this time of loss.
I had to learn about this on CNN.
She didn't tell you
it's
herself?
On our screen here, and we have 4 TV stations on in our studio here: Fox, CNN, the BBC, and MSNBC, in the Communist Network. What'd you say?
Yeah, MSNBC.
The Communist Network.
Yeah.
Anyway, so CNN's got up here that Nancy tear your speech up Pelosi's not going to be running for
This
office.
is it. Yeah, she's not running for re-election.
This is it. Anyway, so
she's
not going to have Nancy Pelosi to kick around anymore.
Very strategically.
I am not a crook.
Thank you. She's very strategically timed this so that she can actually not run for election like before she dies. because she's.
Are you making a prediction here?
No, I'm not. But I'm saying she is.
Dig yourself out of this one, Steve.
She's been around a while.
We're not helping you.
She was born in 1940, so she's 85 years old.
She's as old as my mom. You saying? What are you saying?
Your mom is very healthy because your mom hasn't taken all kinds of weird positions.
I would just drop
right
back
there.
15 yards and punt.
Yeah, punt. You know the old story about if you want to get out of the hole, first thing you do is quit digging.
Stop digging.
All right, what's your first story?
All right,
Steve?
I just wanted to play an example. The young voters that voted for Mamdani in New York City, they really haven't thought through what they're voting for. And just really quick before we get on to some more important news, I wanted to play you one man-on-the-street interview of one of the Mamdani voters. Actually, he says he started off, this was before the election, he was favoring Cuomo, but Mamdani was climbing on his favorite list, cut 16.
Who are you voting for mayor?
I like Cuomo, but I think Mamdani might be pulling the lead a little bit with me.
Yeah. What's your favorite example of socialism that's worked?
I don't have a big example of socialism.
Like between Venezuela, Cuba, Soviet Union, what's your favorite one?
Man, you put me on the spot. I'm gonna have to go Cuba.
Cuba.
I'm gonna have to go Cuba. Yeah. Let's go.
Better rethink that choice.
This is not like picking out a favorite ice cream.
That kid right there, or is it young?
Is it man, a boy? I don't know how old he was, but
yeah, he didn't know he's
He's a classic Mamdani supporter. Right
low
there.
information. That's the definition.
Well, I do think they know what they voted for. I don't think they know the consequences of what they voted for. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's very likely.
Well, right. That was ridiculous. But he's not alone. You could get
he's going with Cuba.
You could get an interview like that on a college campus, almost anywhere in the country.
So that's why they get on boats in Cuba and risk it all to go 90 miles to Miami.
Yeah,
because it's a great place to live.
Because they want to live in the second best place on earth.
Well, listen, the thing is, our founding fathers, and you go back to Thomas Jefferson, they said, I'm completely paraphrasing here, but one of the critical things that has to happen for the republic to survive is you have to have an informed electorate. Okay? People have to understand the issues. They have to understand how the government works. They have to understand how economics works, all that, so that they vote based on that knowledge. And that clip shows that there are people who have just as much of a right to vote as people who know what they're talking about. Right. They get to go into a polling station and get behind a curtain and close it and cast a vote. And that young man, I'm sorry to say, like you said, Tim, he doesn't know a hamburger from a foot long. All right, and yet he's able to vote.
That was a nicer way of putting it than what I did.
He doesn't know what he voted for. He doesn't know the consequences of it. And when things go south, he'll blame Republicans.
When things go south, which I kind of take offense to, by the way.
When things go north.
I don't know why the South is always the pejorative.
Right.
When things go, nobody ever said, why don't anybody say when things go west? You know, when things go west, then we're going to have real problems.
Doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
You know, when things
although
go
it's just
south,
as true if you think of the American geography.
What's that?
If things go west. The West is not a good example of things.
Go west, young man.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Okay, so anyway, we'll see. There is a. Okay, I'm going to get into trouble here if I misunderstood.
And I do, by the way, I just looked up. I have an answer for the go south. Things go south.
Go ahead and tell us that while I think about how I say what I'm going to say.
I just looked it up because you have said this before. When I have said things go south, you say, why you're always knocking the South. The origin of it comes from the stock market when it goes down.
Right.
And they said it's related to the standard Western set of cardinal directions. When you see north, south, east, and west, that down is south. And so they use that to describe
down
the
south
stock market going down.
I think you just found yourself a Trivia Friday question.
I think
That's
they
too
should
complicated.
I just think they should just stick with the stock market went down.
Okay.
If you want to say that, don't say the stock market went south.
Went south. Okay.
We have feelings.
I know,
don't want to be a butt joke of every.
Everyone's
everyone
important in my
America.
life is from the South.
Okay.
I married a Southern woman. My kids.
Right.
Son was born just down the road.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
you
I'm trying to make it up to you,
All right.
Tim. I know you said
so what was I going to say?
I don't know. You said you were going to think of something.
Oh,
and
here's
then you
what,
decided
here's
to
what I
argue
was
with me
going to.
again.
Okay, here's what I was going to say. In terms of voting, I'm not. I think everybody has a right to vote, and I believe in that. But because I don't know how you get away. I wouldn't know how you get around that constitutional question
You can't.
anyway. So I'll just say that I believe that. However, for someone to have the best interest of a entity that they are voting to decide which way to go, there's a reason why you can't vote on the leadership of a church if you're not a member of the church. There's a reason you can't vote for who's going to be the president of the Rotary Club if you're not a member of the Rotary Club. Why? Because you have a vested interest. You have in the decisions that are made. So I say that to say, when people don't have to invest squat in a government, and in fact, they receive government funding, then they're compromised on their voting. I'm not saying take it away. I'm just saying that is a reality. When you get SNAP benefits, for example, from the federal government, you're going to vote Democrat all day, every day, because the Democrats have scared you into believing that the Republicans want you to have to work for it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's a fine line there, and I don't know when you cross it. When enough people are recipients and they vote because I'm not saying just SNAP benefits, I'm talking about government contracts, I'm talking about whatever the case may be, where you're voting for stuff from the government which other people have to pay for. Does that make sense?
It does. I would say, and I don't know how long you want to spend on this.
Did I say anything that was career ending right there?
No.
Okay.
But here's
Okay.
the problem. Then we'll toss it to Ray in
Okay.
his home down south of us.
Yeah. He's really down south.
Is that
I'm
the founders expected that by having a republic for national and elections rather than a direct democracy, that the representatives of the people would not vote for SNAP benefits. They would not respond. They would be thinking, educated people who would do what's best for their constituency and their country. And increasingly we are seeing, since there are no term limits, increasingly we are seeing that the representatives, I'm talking about in the House and the Senate, continue to do what's best for their reelection chances. And that seems to be what at least part of the problem is, because the people who vote for them send them to Washington saying, you better fork over the money we sent you there to pay us. And these members of Congress are saying, especially the Democratic Party, are saying, we sure will. So part of this goes on the men and women in Washington, D.C. as well, I would say.
Here, go, Steve.
All right, I want to give you guys an update on the horrific plane crash in Louisville, Kentucky that happened on Tuesday. A UPS plane was taken off from Louisville International Airport. It barely got off the ground, and it crashed at the end of the runway, spread debris for hundreds of yards in a business district. So they have now 12 confirmed fatalities, 3 on the plane, which would mean 9 on the ground, and 9 people still unaccounted for. there's so much carnage on the ground that they might not they'd be searching for a day or two before they, and they're still trying to put out hotspots before they are able to account for everybody. And they've retrieved the black box, so they should have some indication of what happened. The plane was fully loaded with 38,000 gallons of fuel. It was an MD-11, 34 years old, built in the early 90s. And
it was on its way to Hawaii.
It was on its way to
why it had so much fuel on board.
Well, the engine fell off.
Yes.
One of the engines just literally broke off the plane.
The
That's
port
what
engine.
caused. Huh?
The port engine, and there's been some conjecture of whether or not that had been serviced recently or not. I think the facts are still outstanding on that. We will down the road, of course. I'm sure the NTSB will figure that all out. Okay. All right. In the wake of we're speaking about Mamdani. In the wake of the Mamdani election, I wanted to play you a little bit of what was happening on the street. So Tuesday night was the election. Mamdani, they knew he won fairly quickly, and you started hearing things like this. Cut 12.
We're done hiding. We're done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be upon, of Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah!
What does that mean? Saying something in Arabic?
Yeah, that's in Arabic. That's a Muslim saying.
What is he saying?
There's only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet.
It's the declaration.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that and Christian evangelism?
What's the difference between that and
one comes with the sword, one comes at
what if you take away, if you don't? He didn't say anything about the sword.
No.
I think the reason why we're playing it is so that people understand that there are a lot of Muslims in this country. This was said in or about New York City after the election of Mamdani. They want to turn America into a Muslim country. Now, if you're asking if that's a bad thing, then we're going to have to bring Alex back on and talk about it. But I understand the point you're saying. This individual is right. This was not Mamdani, by the way.
No.
This is an imam, okay? This is a Muslim preacher.
Muslim leader, yeah.
He does have the right to do that in this country. That's what you're saying, right?
Well, I'm saying that every religion proselytizes.
Right.
And every religion thinks they're right.
Yes, but we want Americans to be aware that this is the intent of Muslims.
We allow people to make decisions for Christ. They will kill you if you don't become a Muslim. And
who will?
Muslims, the radicalized Muslims. This is Dr. Robert Jeffress. I talked to him yesterday about this story, just to get his perspective on what he's saying about this Cut 13.
Well, we're seeing in Europe, we're seeing it in Africa, we're seeing the slaughter of innocent Christians in Nigeria by Islamic terrorists. Let's just say of 1.5 billion Muslims, 5% have been radicalized. That's 75 million radical Islamics running around the world right now, and we see what their end game is. When Christians do terrible things in the name of Christianity, they are acting in opposition to their faith. But when Muslim terrorists attack and slaughter people, they are doing what their faith calls them to do. Muhammad said in the Quran, slay the infidel. Jesus said, love your enemies. That's the great difference between Islam and Christianity.
Yeah, I think we're just trying to point out the difference between the two religions. Let me give you another example, one that you and I heard this from an Orthodox preacher. I think he's a bishop. I was listening to this yesterday at lunch. I did not know this. In the wake of October 7th, so Hamas attack on Israel, Turkey removed in its far eastern province 100,000 Armenian Christians, uprooted them and kicked them out of the country. Nobody heard about that because it was in the wake of October 7th. And I think what we're saying here is that is true Islam. That's Father Josiah Trenum is who I was listening to. True Islam does that when they get control. True Islam does what Boko Haram is doing in Nigeria. So I think it's good that we let our listeners know that when you have Muslims, the vast majority in places in Minneapolis, for example, or Michigan, this is their attitude. They want Christians arrested for preaching the gospel. There are Christian law firms that have defended Christians in a couple of cities, one in Michigan, one in Minneapolis. They were arrested for preaching the gospel outside a Muslim gathering. So,
yeah, I'm just asking the questions that some people would say, you Christians evangelize too, and you say, claim this city for Christ. I want everybody to be saved in this city. What's the difference between that and this imam saying, I want everybody in the Bronx to convert to Islam?
Because once they take power, then you, Christian, don't get to go to church. Yeah. You can't what you just said. You can't do that in Saudi Arabia. In Jordan, you can't have the Christians in the East.
But people need to understand that, because the argument is that I just presented is what you're going to hear from a lot of people.
One forces you at the point of a gun. The other begs you on the point of their soul. Ray, are you worried, Ray, about they're coming? Is what I'm writing about here. Are you worried about a Muslim takeover in this country?
Look, we started this program. Tim and Ed, you guys are going back and forth about, okay, we're going to have government. We're going to be giving away stuff. We're going to make the money available. Hey, $30 minimum wage and all of that stuff. Okay, that's only one side of the bargain. The other side of the bargain is what this guy was yelling about, this imam, that when you elect a guy like Mamdani, the other guys come alongside and say, pay attention, Brooklyn, pay attention, Staten Island, pay attention, Queens. We are coming. And we want every single person in New York City to become Muslim. So enjoy your free handouts, because you're about to get a huge wave of Muslim indoctrination in America's largest city. Am I worried? No. Am I concerned? Yes, very concerned about the spread of radical Islam here in the U.S.
In Middle Eastern countries, the Eastern Orthodox Church is not allowed to have a procession down the street like they can in Russia, holding the cross and at Christmas time.
In
or
Israel,
Easter
they
time.
can.
In Israel, they can, but in Muslim countries, they're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to have a Bible out in public. You're not allowed to preach the gospel, or you get in big trouble. In some countries, you get executed. And so I think it's just important for our listeners to become aware that Islam is, even though it is a religion and they have First Amendment rights in this country, it is the opposite of Christianity. And if we were going to tell people which you should choose, we would say, we recommend you choose Christianity. So anyway, that'd be my take on it.
All right. You're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Tim, Ed, Steve, Paisley Jordahl, who's wearing a Johnny Cash shirt.
Yeah, we got a concert tonight in Columbus, the Columbus Corral.
Oh, is it Christmas cantata?
Yeah. Well, it's our fall concert tonight.
Okay.
And this is our
stage
outfits.
Give me the top two songs you guys are going.
We're doing a couple songs that based on the Civil War. One is called "Tell My Father," and it's about.
Love that song.
I'm having a hard time singing it, frankly, because it reminds me of my dad. It's about
I'll help you.
a young Union soldier who died honorably, and he said, "Tell my father I died a hero. I'll see him." And the other one is about decorating how the anger that fed the Civil War goes away when you start placing flowers on the graves of both Union and.
So it's a Civil War theme.
It's just two. It's home themed. These are just two
Okay.
of the songs
All right.
that we're doing.
What's the choir you sing with?
The Columbus Chorale.
Columbus, Mississippi Chorale.
The chorale. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Alliance Defending Freedom is getting involved in a case in Chicago because they want to supply Moody Bible Institute wants to supply its teaching students as student teachers in Chicago public schools. Chicago public schools, like every school district in a large city, will take teaching students that are learning how to teach and use them in their classrooms.
Student teachers.
Student teachers. Well, Chicago public school officials, according to Alliance Defending Freedom's press release, refused to allow Moody students to participate in its teaching program unless Moody abandons its religious-based hiring practices and hire employees who disagree with Moody's core mission and biblical values. And so they're saying, basically, we won't take students
from a Christian
college because you have Christian values.
I don't see how they don't lose that case in court. That first of all, that is that is yet another piece of evidence of the abject hostility of the public school system in a lot of blue states and blue cities, and that is unconstitutional. And shame on them. This is Chicago. What city was this?
Chicago.
Chicago. Shame on them, and I hope they lose a bunch of money in this court case because I think they will lose.
Yeah, I would agree.
Or the First Amendment means nothing.
I would agree. We don't have time, but Ray, I'm going to call you. I want to ask you a question about this for a story that we'll talk about tomorrow or Monday.
All right.
Well, Ray, enjoy the fine weather.
74 degrees here in Hudson, Florida.
All right. My thanks to Ray and Alex and Chris. Adam Suddeth, our producer today. Ed, Steve. I never thank Cole, our video guy.
Cole's awesome.
So, Cole, we're thanking Cole today. Don't take your video guys for granted.
No, absolutely.
That's a lesson right there.
I'd like to say he makes us look good, but I'm not sure even Cole could do that.
All right. Take care, everybody. See you tomorrow.